Let's start out with House File 621. That's Representative Torkelson.
Morning, Mr. Chair.
Representative Torkelson moves that House File 621 be referred to the General Register, and there is a DE1 amendment. Representative Torkelson moves the H 0621 DE1 amendment. Can we vote on the DE1 amendment to get the bill in the shape the author desires? Any discussion of the DE1 amendment? Representative Carlson.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I assume when this amendment goes on that you're going to pass the bill out then with blank appropriations?
Representative Carlson, I guess I would say that is somewhat unusual, but that would be the plan. And I think we all know what this bill is about.
I know what it's about, Mr. Chairman, but when I was in the chair, we did pass out a vehicle, actually it dealt with bonding, but we did put at least placeholder numbers in. I mean, it's rather unique that we would be, when you've got in the House budget resolution enough money for a $600 million bonding bill, I would assume you could have put at least some placeholder numbers in to cover some of the cost.
You know, I think you're.
I'm really concerned about the role of Ways and Means here, passing out bills with blank appropriations. I mean, that flies in the face of the very purpose of this particular committee.
Yeah, I think you make a good point on that, Representative Carlson. I think we should probably do something on that, and I guess I can ask the author on that in a minute. How about if we add the DE1 amendment, and then we can talk about that and make an amendment to that?
That would be fine. The reason I raised the question now was that it had blank appropriations in it. But
yeah, no, that's a good question. All right, any other questions? All in favor of the DE1 amendment signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion prevails. The DE1 amendment is adopted. Representative Torkelson, can you talk to us about House File 621 as amended?
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. As is pretty obvious, I think to everyone, House File 621 is being moved to the floor as a vehicle bill, and the blank appropriations are in the bill as a recommendation of nonpartisan staff.
Representative Wagenius.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Representative Torkelson, so we are now looking at the bonding bill, right? And it has not been in capital investment, has not seen your proposal. And now this committee will not see your proposal. And what that really means is the public does not get an opportunity to comment.
Representative Wagenius, could you pull the mic closer, please?
So the public does not get an opportunity to comment. Help us understand why that's a good idea.
Representative Torkelson.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Representative Wagenius. As you know, the path for bonding bills is one that has taken many routes over the years, including a route very similar, if not identical, to what the path we're on today. It happens. It's the nature of bonding. Sometimes it does not take a very public path to passage.
Representative Wagenius.
But shouldn't we want a public path? Shouldn't we want the public to know what we're up to? I mean, it's bad enough that the public can't come and visit us at the Capitol. But now you are telling us that the public, we're taking a path without public involvement. And I'm not understanding why that's a good idea.
Well, Representative Wagenius, I should say, we have another Torkelson bill that is still in the possession of the committee, and so by passing this, that's not necessarily saying that we're going to take one particular path. So just so people are aware that there's another bill in the possession of the committee that could be used for a bonding bill too. Representative Wagenius.
Well, the point is not what path we're taking. The point is, how is the public going to be involved? And it does seem that now we've skated around the Capital Investment Committee, so the public can't talk to the Capital Investment Committee about the proposal. But now it looks like the only opportunity left for the public would be this committee. Are you going to, so the question is, does the public have an opportunity to weigh in on the bonding bill? That's my question. And if not, help the public understand why they don't have an opportunity to weigh in.
Well, Representative Wagenius, I think there's probably still a bonding vehicle in the bonding committee, too, probably more than one, but Representative Torkelson.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Representative Wagenius. As a member of the Capital Investment Committee, I'm sure you know that we spent a great deal of time traveling the state of Minnesota, a great deal of time in committee taking testimony. If you'd care to review my schedule over the last 18 months, you would note that I have spent a great deal of time taking input from many members of the public, many project proposers. We tried to accommodate anyone who had an interest in the bonding bill to present their views to me and through me to the committee. This has not been we've not been operating in the dark, we've been operating in a very public fashion. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Representative Wagenius.
One more question, Representative Wagenius, and then I have Representative Kahn, Mahoney, and Carlson. Representative Wagenius.
Representative Torkelson, I went on some of those tours with you. However, that's just one piece of the puzzle. The bigger piece of the puzzle for the public is how has all of this integrated? How is it going to come together in a bill? What's in, what's out? Public has no way of weighing in if we just bypass the Capital Investment Committee, bypass this committee, go straight to the floor. The public is now cut out. And that is what I am not understanding, why we would want to do that.
Representative Kahn.
I'd like to just follow up on a statement that Representative Torkelson made. You said this process has been done before. Could you tell exactly when it was done, what dates, who was in charge, and so forth?
Representative Torkelson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Representative Kahn, I do not have those dates in front of me. I have reviewed those. I have them in my office. There have been many times in the last decade that a bonding bill has not gone through the actual process of a regular public committee of where it's passed both floors and been in conference committee. It's not at all unusual. Thank you.
I just wanted an example to help me remember them.
Representative Mahoney.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. It looks like we're going back to an old, yes, this is the way it's been done a couple times before. 3 old white guys in a room back in some corner of the building here or some building around the complex, and we're all going to figure that out. I'm just wondering, would you care to share, because you see, I have, most of my constituents have my cell number, and they have been calling on the importance, and I'm trying to be as kind as I can because you are the bonding chair, and I have 3 particular pieces in your bill, I hope. There's always a hope. They have my cell number, and they've been spending the last 6 or 10 weeks, how many weeks have we been in session, calling me about the importance of the East Side Freedom Library, the Humanities Center, and I think there's one other. Obviously, they haven't picked on that other one just that much. But I thought they should, be able to call Speaker Doubt and relay the same messages they've been relaying to me, because although I know you've been working hard. You've spent $30,000, you've taken people on bus rides around the state, you've answered questions, you've done all that other stuff. But at the end of the day, not a whole lot of transparency in this particular process, and that's one of the problems that we faced last year and we're going to face again this year, it looks like. So whether this is the vehicle or something else is the vehicle, I'm just wondering if you wanted to share Speaker Doubt's cell phone, because I've got the governors and the majority leader. I haven't gotten Speaker Doubt's yet for some reason or another.
Representative Torkelson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Representative Mahoney. Well, I will take your comment about old white guys as a badge of honor. I'm not sure that Representative Hausman would feel the same way, but, you know, it's the process. It's difficult. As you know, as everyone knows, there are over $5 billion of bonding proposals, and no one in anywhere has ever thought that we could put all of them into a bill. So it's difficult work. It's hard work. I'm working hard, and I hope at the end of the day that with cooperation of your party, we will put together a respectable bill that we can all be proud of that does well for the state of Minnesota.
Representative Mahoney.
And I don't deny that you've been working hard. I don't think anyone up here takes it lightly what we do, whether we're on the right or the left or in the middle and getting run down. I know we all work hard. What the process is, and you know, I sat on the bonding committee for, I've been here 18 years, probably 10 if not 12 years on the bonding committee. And we've always tried to have the bonding bill, when I was on it, I had to sit through committee hearings, whether it's this room or the other, and take a vote on all the projects that were in the bill at the final deal and send it to the House floor. It does not look like that, and send it to the House floor with enough time for all the people that, there's a lot of paid people in this room, but a lot of the regular citizens to have a comment. I mean, it's kind of like a couple other emails I'm getting lately. And it doesn't seem to be the process going forward right now, because we only have 6 or 7 days left in session. I don't know how you could hold a hearing where your $600 million bill is voted on by your members and ours, or the $1.5 billion Senate bill is voted on. So I don't understand that. I don't see how it could happen. We've been around here a long time. And I don't deny that this is a tough process. But the process should be where the principal that lives down the street from me can stop up here and have his voice heard, or the mom who's trying to figure out how she's going to do childcare at the decrepit childcare center that might have had a bonding request in to fix up their bonding bill, or the students that populate the Freedom Library and get tutoring from college professors so that they actually graduate, can come up here and comment on a final bill. That's what's the problem here, Representative Torkelson and members, and you know, I don't understand, I don't see how we get to that process and have good governance with that.
Representative Carlson.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I was going to raise some of the questions that Representative Mahoney did, but I still have a couple that remain, like a couple of people that have talked. I'm not currently on the Capital Investment Committee, but did serve on it for many years, going back to 1980. And I think we're seeing a rather unique approach before us here today. But my question, Mr. Chairman, is of Representative Torkelson, because of the short time that remains. We're literally in the last week, and last week I brought up the timing question of a bonding bill and asked when the majority would be releasing their $600 million bonding bill, but also just the mere timing of committee hearings, bill referrals, and what have you. So, Representative Torkelson, my question of you is, when is your next meeting scheduled of the Capital Investment Committee?
Representative Torkelson.
We have no meeting scheduled at this time. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, that
Representative Carlson.
reinforces my point, because it was pointed out that while there are other bills in the committee that could be taken up, and this is just a potential vehicle, the way it sounded, I think we're talking about the real vehicle here. If there's not a committee hearing scheduled, and with the shortness of time and the House referral requirements, unless you were to have a meeting very promptly and unveil your $600 million bill or whatever you plan on unveiling at that point in time, you'd have to really expedite things pretty rapidly. So I think a lot of us have the concern then that this is going to be lacking transparency.
Representative Urdahl.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and a question then a comment. Representative Torkelson, do you have any idea how many bonding projects there were requested of us?
Representative
How many requests did we get?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Urdahl. I honestly do not have a total of the number. It's many hundreds.
Okay.
Representative Roll.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And, I know you know the amount, and I didn't really expect you to know the number, but hundreds is probably a good estimate. And, I as a member of the Capital Investment Committee, I felt this was a very open process, very inclusive to the public. I've served, this is my 14th, I think I've been on 12 years on capital investment committees, and this process is very similar, I think, to the way it's been done in the past. We went on tours, as you've heard. We had numerous committee meetings where we heard projects. I had numerous sessions when people came into my office to talk about bonding projects. I received phone calls, letters, emails. I have a file 1.5 feet high on bonding projects. We've been able to have a lot of access to this, and certainly I hope that the minority isn't suggesting that we could take hundreds of projects and vote them each up and down. In our committee process, that would be a very cumbersome way to do it as well. So I don't know that there is a perfect way to do a bonding bill, but I think Representative Torkelson has been doing a fine job in trying to accommodate the needs of the public and put this together. And I'm sure we will put together a bill that will be successful.
Okay, members, we do have quite a few bills ahead of us, and I think I'd like to get on to those as well. But Representative Torkelson, do you have a preference on what we put into the 3 blanks on here in terms of a number on lines 4, 7, and 12? We could put in 0. We could put in some other number. I guess I think I agree with Representative Carlson that there should be some number inserted in them.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. I do not have any numbers in mind, and I would take your direction as to what would be appropriate.
Okay, well, I think just in terms of flexibility, we all know that there's going to be, if this in fact is the vehicle, an amendment that would change everything radically. And so I guess I would suggest the number being $0 after talking to Mr. Marks, that is a number that would work. And so, Representative Torkelson, if you're comfortable moving that the number 0 be substituted into the blanks in lines 4, 7, and 12, if you're okay, Representative Torkelson makes that motion. Any discussion to that motion? Representative Carlson.
Mr. Chairman, I think the Capitol watchers would understand what you're attempting to do. But do you really want to put 0 in when the average citizen looks online and is following the bill? That's interested in a project, for example, here at the, any one of these, the Minsky or U of M or whatever, for their HEAPR, and you've got 0 in there?
Well,
You're sending a rather interesting message to that average citizen that doesn't understand the intricacies of what's going on here, where some number would at least imply that you have some intention.
Well, I think, Representative Carlson, the flip side is that I think everyone knows we're going to be spending some money in these areas, and if we pick a higher number, then we are somewhat perhaps more putting down a marker of what the number actually should be. Whereas if we put in 0, I think everyone knows we're going to be spending more than that, because there'd be no point in passing a bill if the number for all these were 0.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I can see somebody out there that's just the average citizen, a student at one of our campuses or something, sees 0. What's their reaction going to be? When you say everybody knows, I don't buy into the fact that everybody knows, but I'm just asking the question, do you really want to use 0?
Well,
When you have any number you could use that's there for a $600 million bonding bill that would have some reasonableness to it if the average citizen were to look at it, but you're in the majority.
Well, that is the amendment that's before us. An amendment to the amendment would be in order if someone wishes to offer one. Representative Wagenius.
Well, perhaps Representative Torkelson can remind us what both you and our college system asked for in maintenance, HEAPR.
Representative Torkelson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Tens of millions of dollars. I don't have the exact figures in front of me this morning, Representative Wagenius. I believe the university was somewhere around 100 million, and as was Minsky.
I think the university was around 100 million too. Altogether, just deferred maintenance was $407 million asked for by the agencies in the university system. So at $600 million, unless everything goes to deferred maintenance and maybe a little water infrastructure, that's what the bonding bill is going to be, deferred maintenance and water infrastructure. And that's fine, but we should be telling the public that.
See no further discussion. All in favor of the oral amendment to insert the number 0 in the blanks on lines 4, 7, and 12, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
No.
The motion prevails. The oral amendment is adopted. Other discussion to the bill as amended? Seeing no discussion, Representative Torkelson renews his motion that House File 621 as amended be referred to the General Register. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
No.
Motion prevails. House File 621 as amended is referred to the General Register.